every once in a while you meet somebody who really truly impresses you. And I've been following Pranvera Hyseni on Facebook for a couple of years, I guess it is. And last year, she had the opportunity to come over to America to talk at the, I believe it was the Texas Star Party, is that right? And she's from the country of Kosovo, and she has a huge outreach, astronomy outreach organization in Kosovo, and she is a power to be reckoned with, I'll tell you. And last year she ran into an issue with getting a visa to come over here, and because of the power of Facebook, it turns out she she said, you know, I'm so sorry I can't come. And it turns out that there was some tangle with the State Department and her visa and her embassy, and over 300 amateur astronomers and professional astronomers in the United States immediately got hold to legislators, senators, and got in touch with the embassy, and within a day or two she had her visa. So that's the power of social media. And she is just the queen of social media. But anyway, I won't tell her story because it's very powerful. She comes from a war-torn country, and she is trying to help rebuild that country through the dissemination of information about science and technology and engineering to students and really everybody that'll listen. And so she's really put together a great program, and she's going to tell you all about it tonight. But first of all, I want to show you a little bit about what she's been up to the last couple of years. So let me see if I can find this video here. Oh, okay. And it's right here?
Yes.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
Ka më shumë se 2000 vite, kur Platoni tha se astronomia detyron shpirtin të shikoj lart dhe na çon nga kjo botë në tjetrën.
The astronomy outreach in Kosovo is now recognized around the world. It's kind of odd.
Some of you might recognize lunar astronomer Robert Reeves.
I just want to thank everybody for helping me to do this trip. Çdo rrugtim fillon nga një hap I vogël, ashtu sikurse edhe astronomia udhëheq Kosova gjatë qëndrimit të saj në Shtetet e Bashkuara të Amerikës. Kemi përfaqësuar Kosovën me krenari në 17 shtete të SBA-ve. Kemi vizituar 15 observatorë, 2 planetariume, 1 radioteleskop dhe 5 universitete të njohura amerikane. Përfaqësuam vendin tonë në 2 qendra të NASA-s. folur në 8 konferenca dhe takime shkencore, duke përfshirë këtu edhe Universitetin e Harvardit. Kemi takuar 29 astronautë të NASA-s, qindra astronom dhe shkencëtar amerikan, nga të cilët kemi përfituar njohuri dhe eksperiencë rreth shkencës së astronomisë. Kemi vizituar kraterin e meteorit në Arizona dhe kemi parë një eklips të plotë të diellit për herë të parë. Kjo ka qenë mundësia jonë të tregojmë përpjekjet dhe arritjet tona para popullit amerikan. Kemi dëshmuar guxim, pasion dhe sukses. Në emër të stafit të klubit Astronomy Outreach në Kosova, i falenderoj të gjithë ata që mbështeten udhëtimin tonë në Shtetet e Bashkuara të Amerikës.
All right. And then that was last year. That was just in 3 months last year. And this year she's been back here since April. Take a look at this. This is where she's been just since April. And I had the good luck of meeting her down at Kennedy Space Center back in August for the launch of the Parker Solar Probe. And so we began conversing, and when I found out she had a little bit of time in early October, I invited her up here for this meeting and for our star party on Saturday night. So it's been fun. She's been with me all week, and will be with me till Sunday, and we've had a great time this week. And I've got one more video to show you right quick before I bring her up of what she's done this year. Oh, it's the other one, I'm sorry. think that's a tour that any of us would give almost anything to take. And she has been extremely fortunate. She will be coming back to America next year and for another short tour. And then hopefully she's going to be attending the University of Arizona to get her PhD in planetary science. So hopefully we'll get plenty of chances to see her again. And at this time, I want to introduce my good friend, Pranvera Hyseni.
Thank you. Well, I hope you learned a little bit Albanian from that previous video. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and I'm very happy, very honored to be and meet more astronomers every day, astronomy groups, and to get to know with your work and what Americans can do is always amazing to get all this experience. I would also like to give a very special thank to Hab, whose idea was to bring me over here and provide a presentation and meet all of you, which made me feel very happy, and he's really taking good care of me, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with him until Sunday. So, as happened, you could see through the videos, I've done quite a few traveling across America, and I could see so many observatories, so many planetariums, scientists, and all that. And but what if you, for example, when I meet people here, I talk to them and everybody tells me how they got inspired into astronomy. Like somebody says, my dad bought me a telescope, or I attended a star party where I was hooked with astronomy, and all sort of stuff. But what if you were born in a country where there would not exist any telescopes or astronomers or observatories, astronomy departments, in a place where astronomy is completely dead? And if you love that so much, would you continue ahead with your dream, or would you just stop? You would say, there is no future for me. So that's my story. I am Pranvera Hyseni, 23 years old, from Republic of Kosovo, and I'm just another nerd like all of you, with passionate about astronomy, and I major in geography at University of Pristina in Republic of Kosovo. And I'm also the lead for the astronomy outreach program in our country, which actually has done an impact on the last 4 years. I will show a map just to give you a clue where Kosovo basically is located. If you see the Europe, it's a very small, tiny country, and we are just 10 years old country. We got the independence in 2008, but our country has had a terrible past. When I say that, I mean that our country has been occupied many times by other nations, and our nation has suffered a lot. We never had the freedom until nowadays. So our country, whenever I mention Kosovo, people always recognize it because of the last war we had in the late 90s with Serbia, because Kosovo was former Yugoslavia before. It was part of that. So Yugoslavia started splitting, things were not working out, and it ended up having a bad war. But what was before the wartime in Kosovo? Our country was occupied, which means it was a communist place, and it's upon a person. Whatever he says, you have to do that. And it was very sad because we didn't have freedom. And the worst of all was because we didn't have Albanian schools. Because I'm Albanian, our people are Albanian. Kosovo and Albania were one big country. We're the same nation, same language. It's just that we are two separated countries now because of the war and the politics and everything that has surrounded us for years. And so, people couldn't go to school. Parents couldn't educate their children to learn and to read at least, because no Albanian schools were allowed anywhere in the country, neither books. So imagine waking up every day and knowing that you cannot go to school. You cannot learn to write, to read, And we know that education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. So what we were expecting in our future with no education? So my brother and my sisters, who are older than I, they grew up during that generation when they had to hide in places, in basements, in houses where private people give it for students to learn secretly by hiding from the military. Otherwise, it could be dangerous with your life. And one day people got fed up. It was too much. It was like, it was different without having that freedom of doing anything you want. So the war started in 1998 and it ended in 2000. And it was a 2 year of surviving, and it was 2 year of terrible times. I was 3 and 4 years old back then, and I remember scenes from the war. I remember my family and I going in the forest and hiding and trying to not be killed. I lost my grandfather, and it was a very bad genocide going on. Many houses were burned, and the country was completely destroyed. I mean, who would care about science at that time? We were wanting to live. We were fighting to survive. But during the wartime in the 1999, there was a spectacular thing going on in the sky. It was a partial solar eclipse. And it just passed nearby Kosovo. We didn't see the totality, but 95% of the sun was covered. And people were panicking. I saw that as a kid. People and parents didn't let kids go outside or do things because they didn't know what that is. I mean, most of the people didn't know what a solar eclipse is. And I remember my grandfather, my dad's dad, and he took my family and I outside in the backyard. He told us, don't get scared. It's just a phenomenon. It's just the moon passing in front of the sun. We didn't have telescopes, neither solar glasses. So all what he did, he took a bucket filled with water and he put it in front of the door in the house so the wind doesn't shake the water, and we tried to observe the solar eclipse through that. And to me it was fascinating. As a little kid I said, wow, this is something incredible happening in the sky. And since then, that was the sparkle that hooked me into astronomy. And since then, I have always been curious about the sky and about phenomena and objects out there. Thank you. So, I grew up, I was born and raised in a village, which is in a country, it's nearby the forest, it's amazing. For astronomy, it's dark sky, and I still live there, fortunately. So I was a little kid all the time in the summer. You go out there and you see nothing else but the sky. How can't you be hooked when you see the Milky Way all the time and all these planets and stars? And it was the only moment when you looked up at the night sky and you would forget all about the pain and the sadness that was surrounding us and the war and all of that. That only was the thing that would make you think deeper, that who are we and why we are here. And as a kid, I wanted a telescope, but who would care to buy me a telescope? I was just a kid. Everybody would say, go and play outside, okay? So not a big deal because it wasn't common and you cannot find a telescope to buy in Kosovo anyway. And then I started going to school. I remember my teacher, who was my dad, because my dad is a teacher for over 40 years now, and he happened to be my first teacher in school. So he started asking us, what do you want to become in the future? And all the students were like, I want to become a doctor or a teacher, different professions. And I remember that I said I wanted to fly to space. I didn't know it's named an astronaut back then. And I also thought that NASA was a man that does discoveries. So later on I understood who really NASA is. But I I just remember a few things like that, and it reminds me that I was really early into science of astronomy and space exploration. And then I was going back to school, and I always wanted to learn more about astronomy. And unfortunately, in Albanian, we didn't have much literature, much books that speaks about planets, about solar system and galaxies, and it was impossible to really get information. We have no astronomers, so nobody was there to teach me, like, now you can just go in an astronomy club, you can be part of it, and you're okay. So this was actually one of the reasons I had to learn English as a second language, a little in school, a little from movies, from TV, until today by speaking all the time to people, which really helps. I'm not so good at it, so don't mind me if I don't say sometimes correct words, but it helped me a lot, because then I could read books and I could communicate with people online, and I could at least have a taste of astronomy. So since I learned a little of English, I opened a Facebook account because social media around 2009 was becoming a little popular in Kosovo. And then on Facebook, I wanted to meet people from other places of the world that has the common passion as I. And I met this gentleman from a neighborhood country, Dragan Radmilovic, who, after a few days talking, and I was telling him about what I do and I like astronomy and all that, he wanted to gift me a telescope. And it was surprising. A person that I never ever met in person and doesn't even know me wants to give me something I was dreaming for so long. And he meant it. He gave me this 3-inch telescope, which is really small, and I remember my dad went to pick it up, and I didn't sleep all night waiting for my dad to come back and bring me this telescope. And with this telescope, I saw the lunar craters and Saturn ring and Jupiter moons and all of these for the first time. And it meant so much to me. It was like Hubble Space Telescope to me. I loved it so much. And I took it with me in so many places, in schools and all that. And then I wanted to go to high school. So I was dreaming of becoming an astronomer, on becoming a scientist. But then to do that, you have to do the natural sciences, of course, which I ended up being in the social sciences of gymnasium because the number of students was limited and it was filled. I was too late to apply. And so, okay, I was doing social sciences. I could be a politician, a lawyer, all the bad things, and I couldn't be an astronomer instead. But anyway, I was very sad, but I still kept going with astronomy. So I took my telescope in school, I was participating in science fairs, I also went to other elementary schools in the town, and during the day all we could see was the sunspots, if there was any, through a very small solar filter, and sometimes some planets, and it was still fascinating. Students always loved it, and everybody who looked through that, it was like a life change for them, just like it was for me. And so on, one day the teachers, after 2 years doing social sciences in high school, which wasn't really so interesting, the teachers from the other science program has recognized this girl doing astronomy from a very different field, which is not supposed to. So they approached to me and talked, and I explained them. So they decided to change my program. So in the last year of high school, I converted into natural sciences, and I had astronomy there. I had physics and math and chemistry and everything I loved. It was like paradise. And I was so successful. So I finished high school and I wanted to continue further with my studies, but I was very disappointed because in my country we don't have astrophysics, neither astronomy or things like that that are related to planets. So I choose geography instead, and I still am doing today, and I study, I graduate next year from geography, hoping that someday I would do my planetary sciences degree somewhere else and know more about other planets surrounding us. And so on, I still kept going with astronomy outreach. So, as I was doing astronomy at the same time as my studies, I kept expanding my network on social media, and it really works. Just a note about social media, it's a good thing because many people has bad impressions. Nobody's gonna steal your privacy unless you want to publish that, okay? And if you use it in the right way, it's gonna work and help you, because it helped me. And I met all of these people and companies and everybody which decided to help me, but not by liking my posts on Facebook, but by sending me equipments over in Kosovo. So I met so many, including Mr. Stephen Ramsden, who is from the neighbor state here from Atlanta, and he runs the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project. So Stephen and all of his friends, including Larry, everybody donated stuff to Stephen so he could give them away to other people across the world. And Stephen Ramsden helped me a lot. He got me so many mounts and telescopes and solar glasses, computers, you name it. And within a year, I got this whole set from one 3-inch telescope. It was overwhelming, and I was very happy. But when I got all of these, I said, okay, I'm not gonna just use them by myself. I wanna make an organization or something that I can use with other students. So in 2015, I decided to found this organization, and I named it Outreach of Kosovo, since we are dedicated to outreach and public education. And I started this, I was alone, it was January, I was doing activities, and then I noticed that another partial solar eclipse was happening in the sky and was going by Kosovo. I said, I got it. In the 90s, people panicked, and I said, okay, now I have all these telescopes and solar glasses. Why don't I just go out there and do some small activities so people at least can look at the eclipse and not risk with other filters, which are not supposed to? So I did this activity. I chose to go in the main square of Pristina city, which is the capital, and I just set 3 small telescopes. And all these people showed up. It was unbelievable. And I wasn't expecting all that. And it was not easy to manage all of these people by yourself anyway. So I put also some displays, some pictures, trying to explain a little bit about the solar eclipse. And people enjoyed it. So many people, even from Albania, from Macedonia, neighborhood countries, came over because they heard through the news that there was an activity going on. And there was, for the first time, telescopes, solar telescopes being into the public. It's not like in America, you go in the sidewalk, you see somebody with a telescope. It's not common in Kosovo. If you run into a telescope, it's a big deal. And it was amazing. So we continued in every activity I was doing. I was meeting other people, other friends from different departments, from math, from physics, engineering, all kinds of students who loved what we did, what I did, and then they joined together. So now we are a large organization, about 150 members or more, because we get every time new members coming in. And we get so many invitations to go to schools. That's where we are focused mainly, to go to schools and teach kids, all kinds of ages, from kindergarten to university. And we try to cover the whole country of Kosovo, which is not big. Within 2 hours you can go from border to border, but it's amazing because we want to go in every village, in every school, in big city, and not leave a part without visiting. Because you never know. A small observation, it can change somebody's life. And probably in the future, that little kid is gonna do something great in science, not just astronomy. It just needs some inspiration. So in 2016, since outreach and science in Kosovo was growing up, was coming to a point where it was becoming popular, and people were getting used to it, and it was amazing, very successful within 1 year. So I got an invitation online, again from Facebook, from a gentleman, Rodrigo Araya from Switzerland, to travel over there to Switzerland and Italy to visit a museum, a university, and also to visit a NASA moon rock that was displayed from NASA for 3 days in a museum in Milan. A moon rock. I know it's not interesting probably for you. I just saw one in the museum. It's like, oh, did you see the moon rock? Yeah, it's very simple. But for me it was amazing. A moon rock coming from the moon, seeing it for the first time. I was impressed. And then seeing an astronaut suit and a common module and getting inside of that and seeing how it is, how it works. I only had the opportunity to see all of these on the TV or in the books, but never in person. So I was impressed. And it was just 2 years ago, okay? It wasn't long from now. 6 days later, after from my return from Switzerland, I took another invitation to travel to Australia, over the seas. And I was invited by some astronomers to go there and get some more experience in astronomy, in public educating, and also to learn more about telescopes and observatories, because it was my first time in 2016 to get inside a dome and see what it is like, and to operate a telescope which was bigger than mine, and also meet some great people who did incredible discoveries, like Terry Lovejoy. I assume you have heard of him. He discovered like 6 comets or 7. And then people that discovered double stars and supernovas and asteroids, and it was incredible learning all of that. And spending 42 days in Australia hanging around with these gentlemen and learning, and they telling me about their techniques and their research. To me it was the best thing ever, because that knowledge I gained in Australia, I came immediately back home and I was telling people about it. I was telling my staff and my board about it, and what can we do similar to that, to do that in Kosovo. That was the point. And of course, not forgetting to mention the southern skies. Having the opportunity for the first time to see the southern sky, it was amazing. I felt jealous because they have some really great objects down there. And I felt really lost when I went there first time. So it was nice traveling and meeting all these scientists, talking to them, learning. But I felt bad for a fact that I was traveling, but my friends from home couldn't travel with me because it was impossible, too much expenses, and it was not easy to cover all that. So I decided to invite friends over to Kosovo to bring scientists and to teach our students. So the first person that chose to come to Kosovo was Stephen Ramsden from Charlie Bates. I mentioned him earlier. It was very nice because for the first time, a scientist decided to visit a country that was forgotten from the world, in a land that is not recognized from even half of the world even today. And of course he didn't come alone. He took a couple of telescopes with him, and Larry just told me that this Lunt 80 millimeter, it was his telescope. It belonged to him, and he decided to donate it to Stephen, and it happened to be my telescope. So thank you, Larry. It was well used. And it was very nice with Stephen Ramsden because everybody was excited. We were going out there in the town just setting solar telescopes. He was telling us a lot about the solar activity, about spectroscopy, about topics which we didn't have the opportunity to learn before. And it was also hosted by the government. They were so happy. A scientist, an astronomer decided to come over to Kosovo and visit us, because we don't have astronomers every day like here we have so many. But what was the highlight of the organization, I would call it, was when we invited for the first time to come to America Mr. Robert Reeves who is actually one of the world's best lunar imagers. He invited me to be the keynote speaker at Texas Star Party, America's largest star party. I was so excited and then disappointed from the visa, but then everything was sold. And I came over to Texas Star Party. Oh boy, 3 big fields, football fields, full of telescopes. You see nothing else, just telescopes. And I'm not talking about small telescopes. And I was walking by, I remember, and there were some astronomers like, oh yeah, I just got this 25-inch telescope, but it's small, so I'm thinking to change it. And I was like, okay. And he had no clue that the largest telescope in Kosovo is an 8-inch Newtonian, a small mirror, trying to change the history of astronomy in the whole country. It's not like here that everybody has a telescope in their balcony. It's very normal. Not for us. You don't have a telescope to buy. We don't have a store like that. And it was always difficult trying to get over donations and telescopes, but we were happy that we had all the support from America and all over the world. So at Texas Star Party, besides meeting all these astronomers, I also got to meet a NASA astronaut, Don Pettit, who spent a few months at the International Space Station. They also took me to McDonald Observatory, a really large observatory from there where they do research, and they also have another 10 meters telescope, which is not in the picture. And I remember I walked there for the first time. I was looking up. I didn't even have a clue where the eyepiece was, because it was that big. I never saw a telescope that big, and I was impressed. You can see how big is that if you compare with my body. And then from here, instead of being in America only for 1 week, as I was supposed to, I ended up being in 17 states of America for 4 months. Because all of my friends heard that I'm over here, so they wanted to invite me over to their places. And not because I come over here to teach American astronomers how to do astronomy, but they wanted to give me a taste of the science. They wanted to let me to use their telescopes, to get me to star parties, to learn. And it worked. For 4 months, I have seen so much stuff which I would probably never see in my entire life. And you saw the video earlier at the places I've been, and probably another 30% of the things have not been attached to the videos. So from here I was invited to speak at Space Fest, which is a very great convention held in Tucson of Arizona every year, and it gathers astronauts and scientists and astronomers and nerds like me and all of that together in one place for 4 days, and they have a blast. So many lectures, so many space artists, and it's just amazing being among them. So there I could meet some really great scientists which I always wanted to meet. I read about them, I saw them on TV, and then I got to meet them in person, like David Levy, who made the Schumacher-Levy discovery. And then Alan Hale, everybody remembers Hale-Bopp comet. Also Sal Shostak from SETI, and many others. And then you get to hang with them, to talk to them, to tell them what an amazing job they have done and how much they inspired us. But this wasn't the best part. The best part of Space Fest was this: having all these astronauts and moonwalkers at once. I don't know if you can see me, I'm up there somewhere. It was incredible. I was fascinated. I couldn't believe that these people walked on the moon. And I was talking to them. And they were holding the flag of Kosovo in their hands. It is enough a picture for a small kid in Kosovo to tell them that, hey, this person walked on the surface of the moon. It was incredible. And they were just like us, normal, walking around, goofing around. So what? I walked on the moon. They were so simple. I couldn't believe it. And I enjoyed, and I was fortunate to be there and meet them, because we're losing them every day, and it's a sad. fact. Some of them, like Charlie Duke and Michael Collins from Apollo 11, Rick Armstrong, the son of Neil Armstrong, in the left corner. And then in Arizona, I visited lots of telescopes you saw earlier, and Grand Canyon Star Party as well, and I also went to the meteor crater. One of the things that fascinates me about astronomy, about observing, are asteroids and minor planets, comets, meteorites. I am a meteorite collector. I love them. I like to study them. And it was very nice to go there and see the crater. Because whenever I see a documentary or I read about asteroids, this is gonna pop up all the time. So it was a very great feeling going out there and seeing it from close. Having a feeling how big is that impact and what would it be like being there when that thing happened, and how can we protect our planet in the future if something is coming toward us. So I like to study asteroids, and I was happy to have that opportunity. But then from Arizona, I was invited to go to the Shabo Observatory. They have 2 Alvan Clark telescopes. I was at the museum earlier, and the guys showed me an Alvan Clark telescopes, and a few actually in a collection. I was happy, and it was very nice to see those for the first time. And I could see for the first time a clock driver, because I never knew that thing existed. And to see how it works, let me play with the telescope, open the dome, and everywhere I went, I learned something new about telescopes and observing. Then from here, I think I went to Rhode Island. You saw some of the picture earlier. Another Alvan Clark telescope, which is a twin from the Shabo in Rhode Island. And also I was invited to speak at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, which in my career, I think this was the highlights of the things I have done. Because after all, who am I? I'm just a student, a farm girl from Kosovo. I haven't done anything great in my life yet to be invited to speak in a place like Harvard, which is one of the best universities of the world. I was honored. I was happy to represent my country in this university and tell people what can you do in astronomy even if you have nothing, starting from zero. So from here, I think I went to Florida, to the Space Coast. I was very happy because they treated me not just a tourist going to NASA, but they gave me a private tour. They got me to the top of the VAB building, and they got me to places where I could not have access if I just was going on a tour like everybody goes. I was very happy for that, how people treated me in every place I have gone, and they gave consideration to our work in Kosovo. So I saw rockets, I saw many spacecrafts, and you can see how big they are. It's not like seeing them on the TV, and then you can't just imagine that these crafts can fly to space and come back Earth safely. It's outstanding. Then from here, I think I went to Atlanta to visit Stephen Ramsden, and then I also went to Huntsville at the Marshall Space Flight Center and also U.S. Space and Rocket Center to see more spacecrafts and to learn more about astronautics and the boosters and everything that is related to space exploration. Then also in Wisconsin to the Yerkes Observatory, which has the world's largest refractor telescope, which unfortunately has been closed just a couple of days ago. And I hope it's going to be opened again for the public at least. But all of these things, it was great to visit. It was like nothing before. It was a 4 months that taught me all that much, which I couldn't catch up with that for probably 10 years. And maybe never if I was in Kosovo. And I was very lucky to be in America to see a total solar eclipse. I was at the right place at the right time. So I was in Tennessee, somewhere near Nashville, and I've seen 4 solar eclipses in my life. But when I saw a total, it was completely different. So if you ever seen an eclipse, if it wasn't total, don't tell anybody. It's not good. I know you were lucky because it was passing through South Carolina. And it was just amazing. It just, you can't describe the feeling. And I was going live feed in Kosovo, and people in reality saw the darkness at those moments when the moon covered the sun. They saw the darkness. They saw some of the stars. I was trying to live feed and show everybody everything I saw myself. So after going back home with all this experience and all these achievements in America, everybody was so happy. My family, my friends, my organization, government, everybody was excited because it wasn't just me going here and having fun. It was me coming here and representing our country and learning and bringing experience back. And that's the point of the whole travels, trying to catch up something and bring that back home. And making our country a little bit more advanced in science than it is now. Because we don't do rockets. We don't land on the moon. We don't even have an observatory. How can you compare a country like Kosovo with a country like America? It's a life change if somebody comes over here. And you guys have no clue how lucky you are to be born in this country of freedom and to have all of these things surrounding you. Because we don't have. We dream to have what you guys have. So don't get things for granted. One of the mornings I was home and I woke up. It was like 2 months after I came back from America. And I was receiving congratulations on social media everywhere, and I didn't really know what's going on. They told me that an asteroid was named after me. It was published by the Minor Planet Center, and I was shocked. An asteroid, I told you earlier, I'm fascinated with asteroids. And now I can't believe that an asteroid is orbiting the sun and it is having my name. But the point at this, it's not about having my name, right? It's not about Pranvera Hyseni. It's about Kosovo. Because it's the very first time a celestial body has been named after an Albanian person. It's the first Albanian name out there in the space, and it's going to be there forever, even after I die. Of course, if the asteroid doesn't impact somewhere. So, it's amazing. It's amazing. And I observed this asteroid at Texastar party, because I can't do it from my telescopes at home. They're so small. And then I had images provided by people, including Hap, who just sent me the recent picture of my asteroid. And it was very nice to see a body that has your name. And next year we plan with Hap to do some more research over this asteroid. So the 2018 started very nice because in January I won an award which was the 24 on the 24 from the Mars generation. So I was chosen one of the 24 students of the world to win this award, which is about dedication into public outreach and STEM. And I'm happy about two facts in this picture. First, I put Kosovo among these countries. And second of all, there are more women than males in this. And it means a lot to me because we need more women in science. Because females usually are afraid to continue ahead. I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about countries like Kosovo, like Middle East. Imagine a woman going and doing science. There it can be a big deal. And sometimes they're afraid to continue ahead. But you should not. Because if you're a female, it doesn't mean you're still a human being. You can still be great if you love something. So, what is Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo's next large step? We want to build an observatory. We want to mark an observatory for the first time in Kosovo. No matter how big it's gonna be, we want one. We never had. And it's gonna help us do things. So we made this little plan. It's gonna be a 6-meter dome, and it's gonna be a classroom, a small room where we can do an operating room for the telescope, and have public access it, schools, and let us do some research. Let us do some observing of supernovas or observing in variable stars, which you can do even from small telescopes, asteroids, or no matter what. It will open a door to the universe for us. And to do all this, it takes work. It takes work and money and all that. So we decided to approach to the government. We have very good relations with the Ministry of Education, with which we had lots of projects among the schools of Kosovo. They support us a lot, and most of them do. But when it came to the observatory, nobody was sure, because it's not easy to provide funds and, government. So we met with them. They told us they will help us, but it still needs help. It's not going to make it all. So we need help from people. And then we were thinking about the construction, because we already got the property donated from a person. And it's a good place, a dark place where people also can access. And then we didn't think about a thing about the telescope. We said, okay, we're thinking on making an observatory, but what telescope should we use? The 8-inch? That's the largest one we had. So this year in April, I was invited by Celestron, who is one of the world's largest manufacturer that provides telescopes, to speak at Northeast Astronomy Forum in New York. And I was there, I talked about things, I mentioned the observatory, and right after I finished, the CEO of Celestron, Mr. Corey Lee, he approached me and announced that he wants to donate a C14 telescope to our observatory whenever that is going to be built. And that shocked me. I said, what? A C-inch in Kosovo? It's going to be the largest in the country. It's going to make a big difference. Imagine being there at my home and just driving to the observatory, opening the dome. It's not that I have to hop on a plane to go somewhere else to observe. I will have it right there. And everybody will have access to it. But the main point to do all this, we got the telescope, we got the property, but we haven't got the construction yet. So we need help for that. And if any of you wants to donate and help to be this observatory built in Kosovo, you are welcome. So I have been traveling in America. You saw the map since April. I leave America in October 14. I'm a little sad because I got so much attached to this place. But I've been traveling and visiting observatories, visiting a few more NASA centers in California, and going in Space Fest again, and going in road trips and seeing sights of America, meeting scientists, having different talks and conversations, and just making more connection to people. Because everybody is supporting us. Everybody likes what we are doing, and that is making us stronger. Because if we know that some scientists are supporting us, then for us it's much easier to get up in the morning and go out there and teach these schools. Because it was different before. It was not like here. I was born in the wartime. I was born in a place where nobody thought that astronomy would be something in my place. If I told my parents when I was younger that I want to become an astronomer, they didn't like it, because they thought that I won't have a future with astronomy. And they were right. But no, they were not, again, because today I'm planning on becoming a planetary scientist. Whatever it takes, it only needs one person to start, and then other things and other students will be following that path. And that's what I'm aiming. And that's why I'm traveling. I'm going to places to speak, to tell people that you can reach your dreams. Even if you don't help, I mean, even if you don't have the help and support, even if you don't have anything, as long as you love something, as long as you work and don't quit working for what you want, I guarantee you that you will reach whatever you want. Not just science, everything. And I want to prove people that that is true. Because I have been there. I have been at that point where I said, it's not working. I can't become a scientist. I have to quit. But I haven't. And it isn't that things just came to me right away. Of course it needs work, a lot of work. And it's not easy. It's not easy being young, being a female, traveling alone to places that you don't know people. You meet somebody on Facebook, you have no clue who they are. You just take that step to travel and meet people, and it's all a new thing. But for me it worked so much and it changed my life. But not only mine, it changed a whole country. Because now Kosovo is being recognized internationally in astronomy. And our team is presenting our work to the world, and we are very proud of that. But none of this would happen if we didn't work and if we didn't have the support from all astronomers of the world. So that's what I want to deliver. We gotta work together, we should stick together and work, starting now. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Do you have a GoFundMe page for the observatory so you can get some funds going?
We do not have a GoFundMe because GoFundMe and PayPal doesn't recognize Kosovo. So they don't work in our country. But we have been receiving funds by checks from different astronomy groups and people. And after I moved back to Kosovo, you can deliver money to HAP, and then HAP can send them back to us in Kosovo. Yes.
What do the 6 stars represent on the flag?
Well, the 6 stars represent all the minorities that lives in Kosovo, apart from Albanians. Any more questions? Yes.
When you say we for your team in Kosovo, what is the team? How big a team do you have? What sort of team is it?
Well, our team right now is over 150 members, but we also got the board. I've got a very great board who is made by students like I and one teacher of astronomy. These students are different backgrounds: engineering, physics, chemistry, photographers. So we work together. Of course, we are not professional astronomers, but with all the knowledge and experience we have been achieving on these years, we were the ones to work together, so we kind of managed this organization. And I'm sure if I move to America for my studies, the observatory will be in good hands. You also had a question.
Yeah, how has your family reacted to the success and all the challenges that you've had? Parents, like your dad's a teacher,
Yeah.
values all this like education and everything. What's been their reaction?
Yeah. Well, when I started, I mentioned that my parents didn't support much what I did because they were afraid. They were afraid that I won't have a job in the future and I won't be able to make a living, which I agree. But now that I've been traveling and I've been offered opportunities to speak and connect with people and probably even study over here, they are the people that support me the most right now. My dad is the person that actually would give anything for me to become a planetary scientist. So now they are reacting very good to that. I keep in touch every time. They all the time want pictures from my activities, from the people I meet, and they are very happy for that. Yes.
What's your favorite object to show the fellow countrymen? What's your favorite thing in the telescope to let other people observe?
Oh boy. I've got so many objects, but I like to observe comets and asteroids, as I mentioned, but I also like a lot of deep sky images to observe objects, measure objects. It's always fascinating because these things you can never see with naked eye, and you point the telescope and you see that they exist, they're right there, and you won't believe that you see them in the past. That's fascinating. So I like deep sky objects as well. You also had a question.
I actually have a list of questions, but I'll limit it. One of my questions, though, is you mentioned that there aren't a lot of textbooks or any material in Albanian. You had to learn English for it. So now with this uptick in astronomy and outreach and things like that, have you noticed more textbooks or text being converted into the language so that students can learn from it?
Well, since I came to America for the last 2 years, I have got so many books donated by people. Everywhere I go, I will get a book from somebody as a gift. And sometimes it's a problem to ship them back home because they're heavy. But I never refuse them because that's what we need. We need more books. I am able to leave clothes behind and get the books with me. So when I go back home now, most of the young people, they know English. And I give books to them. They read it. They take it back to me. I give to another person. And yes, I had a thought to convert a book in Albanian, to write one book. But with all the traveling and studies and outreach I have to do, it's impossible to make time to convert one in English, in Albanian. But hopefully I will find persons who would want to have it and have the free time and can translate it in the right way. Any more questions?
Yeah, I'll ask just 2 more, then I'll talk to you
All
at some
right.
other point. So you mentioned going to the University of Arizona for grad school. When you get to the States and do go to grad school, I'm sure you won't have trouble getting in anywhere, but whenever you do go to grad school, do you tend to do more outreach?
Well, I would love, but that all depends on the time that I will have available, because I am not sure with the system of education of America, since I am a foreigner. So I am not sure how busy that PhD will keep me. I'm sure it's not gonna be easy, it's gonna keep me busy, but I always make time for outreach. So I believe that I would be in Tucson and around Arizona, or traveling, attending conventions, speaking to places all the time. I will stick to that.
Anyone else have questions? Or?
Go for it, Brian.
Okay, I'll say one more, and then I'll stop. All right. So this type of talk that you're giving us, talking about your background and everything that you've accomplished for Kosovo and everything like that, do you go to schools and communities all across your country and do the same kind of talks, or do more of talking about astronomy, bringing your telescopes and looking up at the sky?
Well, there is a difference between my speeches I provide here and back home. Because here I am on a mission to inspiring the young on continuing into doing science, but back home I need to teach people astronomy. So when I go to a school, what we do a presentation where I can speak various topics about planets, about galaxies, about black holes, or any topic in astronomy, and then we go out there and we observe, no matter if it's the sun or during the night time. That's how it works. And when I'm here, it's different because I need to show the work we have done and to inspire more young people to get into science, because sometimes young people are spoiled here with all the opportunities, and just to remind them that use it. Thank you very much for your questions. If nobody has more questions, I would like to thank you very much, and I would like to thank HAP once again for bringing me over here.
I told you she was a force to be reckoned with. I think you're going to see her name a lot in the future.